You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Y&R fans. Well, Diane Jenkins and Audra Charles have 3 enemies in common right now, and I can see these very angry and very determined women working together to teach these men a lesson. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and let's talk about how they might take aim at a couple of Abbotts and a Newman for payback. But first, hit subscribe if you're not following us. So this week, Audra Charles gave Jack Abbott some information that could get her sued because she basically broke a legal agreement. She confirmed Jack's worst suspicions that Victor Newman is the money man behind Glissade and the reason that Kyle Abbott is acting so awfully. Despite Audra taking a huge risk and violating her NDA to give Jack the info, he didn't care. He basically told Audra, too bad, so sad. You know, she wanted Jack to help her get back Glissade and said she would help him get back Kyle, get him away and out of Victor's clutches. But not only was Jack not interested in what Audra was offering, he dismissed her out of hand and said she would never get Glissade back and she could never beat Victor. And of course, that rubbed Audra the wrong way. And she blames Kyle for getting her fired from Glissade. Mind you, she doesn't know right now that Victor fired her because Kyle stole something from Jabot, but I think she's going to figure that out pretty soon. And she also does know that Victor used her to get Glissade away from Tucker McCall. So Victor, Kyle, and Jack are all on Audra's list of enemies right now. So let's flip over and talk about Diane Jenkins. For months now, Kyle's been a real entitled little brat. He's the one who suggested Diane get the co-CEO job at Jabot, and then he began undermining her at every turn, going behind her back and just being really shady, doing deals behind her back, just talking crap about her work, and just making her life hard. And when she called Kyle out, he doubled down. And so left with no choice but to either tolerate his sabotage or do something about it, Diane fired Kyle, and Jack didn't like it, but initially he supported her. And they both thought that Kyle needed a little reality check, and they thought he would back down and apologize and then come back to work. But instead, he betrayed his parents, betrayed the family business, and Victor was right there to take advantage of it. Since then, Jack has been getting more and more aggressive with Diane, and he seems to be blaming her as much as he blames Victor. And he's not really blaming Kyle as much as he should be. Also, since then, Diane has dealt with constant backlash from Jack, the blame game from Kyle, and then Victor taunting her at every turn. Diane already told Jack that she thinks he sees her as the same person that she was decades ago, selfish and manipulative. And then Jack basically told her that this week, confirmed that, and it really hurt her. And then Kyle said a bunch of nasty things to her and said he didn't want to be around her. Victor basically called her a gold digger who only came back for power. And all of these conversations happened in public in a very humiliating way. So Diane also has Victor, Jack, and Kyle on her naughty list. So I just wonder if Audra and Diane will sit down together and have a serious talk and a bunch of things come out of it. Audra isn't one to let things slide, and neither is Diane. I know when Audra spoke to Jack, she was hoping to get an ally that she hopes will be part of this war to take down Jack and humble Kyle into crawling back to his parents and also take down Victor. But Jack rejected Audra and mocked her as being an unworthy opponent to face off against the great Victor Newman. And, you know, Diane wouldn't do that. I don't think she would mock her. And there's a problem from the start. I will say Audra is not someone that Diane likes that much. And she actually thought Audra was leading Kyle astray. But by now, Diane knows better. It was Victor's influence all along that was leading Kyle away from his family and tempting him to do bad things to betray the Abbotts, like stealing that Jabot product. And I could see Diane and Audra having a very informative chat that turns into a big fat revenge scheme. If Diane tells Audra that Glissade is launching a product that was stolen from Jabot, and Diane tells her when it happened, I think things will start to click, and Audra could tell Diane that right after the product was stolen, that's when Victor fired her and promoted Kyle to sole CEO. And Audra can tell Diane that Victor challenged each of them to prove to him they were the one that deserved to be the only CEO of Glissade. And Audra can tell Diane she developed a product of her own, something original, but clearly Kyle decided to steal one. So from there, I could see Diane and Audra going to work to get the proof that Kyle stole the product, working on Victor's orders, and that could be phase one of a plan. If Audra got proof through some contacts at Glissade, then Diane could have criminal charges taken out against both Kyle and Victor. From there, Diane might be able to cause trouble for Jack at Jabot by triggering a vote of no confidence by the board because he refused to press charges against Kyle, even though he knows he stole that brand new product. I don't know if the board would put Diane in charge, but they might. Or if Billy Abbott winds up fired at Chancellor, he could come in and take over. And you never know. Diane might wind up working with Audra over at Glissade if they can get it away from Victor, if he's also facing charges of criminal conspiracy for industrial espionage. I have to say, I think it'd be great if Audra and Diane gave those guys a spanking for thinking that they are all powerful and that a woman can't take them down. Victor needs a huge reality check, lashing out at Jack for helping Nikki. This week, he called Jack out and says the night he took drugs trying to get Nikki to go to rehab was debauchery. That seems insane. Nikki credits Jack with saving her life, and when she finds out what Victor's been doing to target Jack, she mightn't try and force Victor out at Newman Enterprises. I kind of think it'd be poetic justice if all three men, Victor, Jack, and Kyle, are all forced out of their positions of power at Newman, at Jabot, and at Glissade by angry women who outsmart them because these guys are playing revenge games. I think that would be really cool. So what do you think? Will Audra and Diane put their heads together and come up with a powerful payback plan to take down Victor, take down Kyle, and punish Jack? All for what they have done to these two women, and Nikki might even get involved too. What do you think?
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.